This year, the NSA temporarily suspended this mass data collection program because they don't know how to operate it without violating Americans' rights. So why in hell does Congress want them to restart it? Here with me now to break it all down, Kentucky Republican Congressman and House Oversight Committee member Thomas Massie is back. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Kennedy. I think you're the real whistleblower here. I haven't seen anybody in the news report this yet. You're the first. I've been trying to blow the whistle on this. The Democrats, like you said, they've been complaining abuse of power, abuse of power, abuse of power, and they just gave the president the power to spy on every American without a warrant in a bill that funds everything the president is doing.
Yeah.
Like the CR doesn't cut any of the money from the executive branch. Meanwhile,
isn't that the weirdest thing? You know, they're so opposed to every program. And, you know, this president, I know there are parts that you really like about him, but he is a big government, big spending president. And that means whatever this bill has in it, they're going to spend it on the president's programs.
They've authorized and funded everything he's doing. Meanwhile, they're having these hearings simultaneously complaining about what he's doing. It's pretty ridiculous. Here's the other ridiculous thing. We had less than 24 hours to read this. That's because they didn't want you reporting on it until it was already passed. And so they snuck it through. Pelosi has a 72-hour rule, but she got 230 Democrats to vote to suspend the 72-hour rule, in fact, all of the rules, so they could rush this CR through, this continuing resolution.
Well, how's it going to do in the Senate?
Well, it'll probably breeze through the Senate and the president will sign it, but it's not a solution because here's what it does. And I've seen this play call like 4 times in the 7 years I've been in Congress. They've punted the ball until December 20th. And what they'll do is they'll come in a closed room with us and they'll say, OK, now we've got the really big omnibus. And if you vote for this, you can go home for Christmas. But if you don't vote for it and it fails, we're going to make you stay here over Christmas and New Year's. And it's almost like a dystopian future. I've been in the closed room where they start chanting, vote, 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 vote.
Yeah.
And people run up there and vote for something they've not read. So that's the other
horrible.
thing.
That's no way to legislate. That's like a bondage chamber, I think.
There is some Stockholm syndrome going on where, like, the hostages are super excited to vote for their own doom or for the doom of the American people. And so that's what they've done. They set up a Christmas crisis, December 20th. Wait for it. It's coming. But what they'll do then, instead of a CR, they'll have an omnibus. And who knows what they're going to hide in that. I mean, my staff helped me to find the Patriot Act.
Yes.
As in this bill, it was like on page 25.
Yeah, and it was buried. You had it on Twitter and Instagram where you highlighted the portion of it that was most egregious. And it's like, this is what you people are doing? You hate freedom so much that you're willing to re-compromise Americans' basic Fourth Amendment rights?
Exactly, and the Democrats have been complaining about this the whole time Republicans were in the majority. So this was another thing they did. They wanted to put it in a spending bill because no Democrat ever apologizes for spending too much. So the Democrats can go home and say, well, look, in order to spend all this money, in order to keep the government from shutting down, I had to vote to, you know, they're not going to say this, but I had to vote to violate your Fourth Amendment rights.
They don't care. So you voted against, you were the only person in Congress to vote against this provision that basically told the people of Hong Kong, we got your back. You know, we're not going to advance any military campaign against mainland China, but we feel you. It passed, but you were such a contrarian.
Yeah, it was about 420 to 1, I think, this bill that you're talking about. But what it did is it has sanctions on China. I agree with 90% of the bill, but the 10% that says we're going to sanction China, give me a break. You don't pull a gun unless you're ready to shoot it. And when you start escalating things like with China and you start doing, you know, in this case, the sanctions, I've never voted for a sanction. And so I wasn't about to start here. This is fake. This is Congress acting like they want to do something, but they're not really going to do anything.
Getting sassy with Massie. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Kennedy.